Hello, I'm Mark Lawson, president of MorningStar Music Publishers. Composer Philip Stopford recently stopped by our St. Louis offices, and I had an opportunity to talk to him about his career and his music. Well, Philip, when I'm doing reading sessions around the country, one of the questions that I often get is, who is this Philip Stopford that has burst on the scene? So I thought, maybe tell us a little bit about where you're from and some of your early musical experiences.
Okay, well, I began my career as a chorister at Westminster Abbey, and my mother took me down to London for a day out for an audition, and I ended up joining the choir, and it was a sort of surprise really, because I thought I was just going to the Tower of London or something for the day. But anyway, I went to Westminster Abbey and spent 4 years at Westminster Abbey as a chorister. Then I went on to school, a senior school, and became a music scholar, and was in the chapel choir and in the orchestras, and studied music for exams. And then I sort of started learning the organ, and I went to Truro Cathedral to be organ scholar for a year at Truro Cathedral. And then I was fortunate to win an organ scholarship at Keble College, Oxford, and studied music and directed the choir at Keble College at Oxford University. Then I went to be organ scholar at Canterbury Cathedral for a year, moved to Chester Cathedral to be assistant organist, then moved to Belfast Cathedral in Northern Ireland to be the director of music. So all of this has been building and building and building, and I've been involved in the tradition of the Anglican choral tradition, as we would call it, for ever since I was really sort of 6 or 7 years old. And my father taught me the piano when I was very young as well.
That's great.
So.
And if I'm not mistaken, didn't you sing in Princess Diana's wedding?
No, I didn't. Unfortunately,
okay.
No, not on this. Not that time. We did have big services. The biggest service actually that I did was the memorial service for Sir Laurence Olivier when he died. But yes, the person that we saw most at Westminster Abbey actually was Princess Diana.
Oh.
Yeah, so we saw her regularly at a lot of the charitable work that she did. Yeah,
That's great.
For various
That's
different
great.
foundations.
Well, when did you first start writing?
Really, the composition started for school. I think a lot of people do composition at school, and they get a little taste of what, we'll try a bit of this, try a bit of that, writing for choirs and maybe small ensembles and that sort of thing. And then I wrote a piece for the chapel choir at school, and then I did a set of responses for Truro Cathedral. And Andrew Nessinger, who was director of music at the time, now at St John's College, Cambridge, he suggested that I enter them into the Federation of Old Choristers Composer Competition. It's quite a mouthful. And I won, and so I got a performance of these responses at Exeter Cathedral, which actually happened to be by Lucian Nessinger, Andrew's dad, who was just about to retire there. So that was the first thing I did, and actually the Lord's Prayer from that setting is actually published as well.
Mm-hmm.
I was only 18 when I wrote that, so that's now published, which is
great.
lovely. Yeah. After that, more so at college and university, when I was running my own college choir, I just sort of dabbled a little bit here and there, trying small little pieces, and people then started asking me to do more. So,
That's great.
Yeah, that's what's happened. Yeah.
If someone were to ask you to describe your style, what would you say?
Well, I think people would when they're asked that question, would tend to pick a composer or something. And I think we do have influences of different composers, but really my influence is the tradition itself, really. So I've grown up with the Stanfords and the Victorian Stainer sort of music, and then into the Herbert Howells, and more recently John Rutter and Bob Chilcott and all that sort of thing. I wouldn't describe myself as a super modern avant-garde composer. It's not really my thing. I don't know why, but it's not really my thing.
I think of your music as being fairly lyrical.
Yes, I think so, yes. Yeah, they call me Mr. Tune sometimes, I do love a good tune, and I think other people love a good tune, but no, I for me it's based on the text. When I receive a new text or I'm familiar with a text that another composer has set, I want to have a go myself sometimes. Yeah, that's what it boils down to, really.
And one of the things I think I want to ask is, do you prefer writing a cappella versus accompaniment? I've noticed a little bit of both. I think early things seem to be a cappella, but then I noticed...
Yes, I think I think it depends on the choir that you have, really, or the choir that you're writing for. Now I tend to be asked to write an a cappella piece or an accompanied piece, and it's sort of more set in stone by other people as part of the commission, really. But I had a great choir at Oxford University, and they were able to do some lovely unaccompanied singing. And the building, of course, Keble College has this beautiful 4 or 5 second acoustic,
Right.
which is lovely for a cappella music. You know, both of my own and other people's. So, I think I take joy in both, to be honest. Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you for taking time to drop by and say hello.
Well, thank you, and thank you
we
for
look forward to hearing more of your music.
Yeah, can't wait.